Good morning, everyone. I'm Representative Frank Cook from the 16th District, Chair of the Law Enforcement Accountability Task Force. I want to thank you to everyone who is participating and watching this virtual task force meeting. We're in unprecedented times and we are facing unprecedented challenges, but we are here to meet those challenges. A little more than 2 months ago, the country was shocked by the killing of George Floyd. His death and deaths of many other Black Americans, such as Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, have led to a strong, sustained call for systemic change, and that we haven't seen in this country for generations. There is a systemic racism in all aspects of our society. This task force is charged with addressing systemic issues in law enforcement. As a retired Newcastle County police officer, I've seen both the good and the bad. I know the difficulties of doing this job. Law enforcement is extremely difficult, stressful profession. It requires making split-second decisions that can carry life or death consequences. However, none of that explains or excuses the horrific stories we've seen in the media and read about throughout the years. Cops who violate police rights need to be held accountable. Period. No excuses. Bad cops should be not wearing a uniform. Let me repeat that. Bad cops should not be wearing uniforms. However, none of that explains or excuses the horrific stories we have seen in the media and read about throughout the years. That's what this task force is going to be looking at completely. We need to dig in the root problem, identify solutions, and make changes. It's going to be a serious, tough decision, but we have to do this. We have to do the right thing. We need to buy in. We need to buy in from everyone, which is why you see this diverse task force of community advocates, criminal justice officials, and law enforcement together. I know there is going to be temptation to pass judgment on this group and declare defeat before we even get started. Many requests to everyone is simple. Judge this task force by its actions and the work we produce. But more importantly, get involved. We need input from all corners of society. We need to hear from the concerns of the community, and we want to hear your voices. We want to hear your voices. During this meeting, we will be announcing the membership of the 4 subcommittees that dive deep into the issues such as the use of force, civil rights protections, transparency, and community policing. And these subcommittees will include even more community advocates, experts, and officials who will make policy recommendation to the full task force for its final report. All of our meetings are public, and we will invite the public comment. Residents can offer comments and suggestions at any time via email at leotaskforce@delaware.gov. Let me repeat that. leotaskforce, all one word, at delaware.gov. I want to be clear here. We need and want input from the public. We are not operating in a vacuum. If there is a report with recommended improvements to law enforcement or laws that other governments have passed, send them to us. Our task is not to reinvent the wheel. Our task is to explore all options and recommended meaningful reform. Let me repeat that. Our task is to explore all options and recommended meaningful reform. The Delaware Legislative Black Caucus called for this task force because we believe that to address systemic issues, you need systemic change through real meaningful reform. That's why we're here. That's why we're here. I look forward to working with everyone in the coming months, and thank you to everyone volunteering their time. And I know we will make Delaware proud and our citizens of the state of Delaware.
Good morning, everyone. I am Deputy Attorney General Darrell Parson. At the outset, I want to thank Representative Cook for approaching me about joining this task force. Thank Attorney General Kathy Jennings for understanding my desire to join this conversation, and President Pro Tempore David McBride for the appointment as co-chair. I also want to thank all of you, the appointed members of the task force, for participating and taking on this very significant challenge. I'm the father of a teenage son, and I had the police talk when he started to drive and travel alone. I hope that talk will not be necessary by the time he has children of his own. I just dropped him off at college, and his mother arranged a brief meeting with the university's chief of police. It was an introduction and a conversation to better understand that environment, and it was a conversation to better understand one another. My personal hope is that community-based policing will become normal operational procedure, so our young people's first meeting with law enforcement is positive and productive. If you believe in the natural honesty, integrity, and goodness of your fellow citizens, then you also may unfortunately acknowledge the presence of some antisocial and sometimes criminal behavior. Law enforcement and the criminal justice system has a role to protect those who cannot protect themselves and implement the rules that allow our communities to grow and thrive. To the members of law enforcement, we respect that you run towards the sounds of conflict when others run away. But in the words of Dr. King, we are now faced with the fact that tomorrow is today. We are confronted with the fierce urgency of now. I ask you to recognize that times are changing and changing very rapidly. 21st century policing cannot be based on outdated models. Please consider how you may become part of the neighborhoods in your patrol sector, city, or town. Citizens of the great state of Delaware, I echo Representative Cook's call for communication and participation. We will not always agree, but the dialogue is necessary. An open exchange of ideas is required. We must shine a light on an entrenched aspect of American life that is very familiar to persons who are often called Black or brown or red or yellow. It's sometimes invisible to those who do not share those racial or ethnic backgrounds. I do not ask all of the citizens and our activists to blanketly endorse this task force. A little healthy skepticism is a positive thing. But I do encourage you to think expansively and aggressively about how things should be. How should police and communities of color ideally interact? How are stereotypes broken? How are those lessons taught, and how do those messages become statewide mantras for all communities? The challenge before this task force is complex. 400 years of discrimination, prejudice, inequality, and fear will not be overcome in the next 6 months. We truly recognize the overlapping needs for educational equity, employment and economic security, mental health supports, and stable family environments. But our particular challenge is law enforcement accountability, and we must take that first step to improve the state of Delaware. This is our home, and we must protect one another. I will close my remarks with a statement from Nelson Mandela. What counts in life is not the mere fact that we have lived. It is what difference we have made to the lives of others that will determine the significance of the life we lead. This is our chance to make a difference, and I thank you all for your time. Now I'll turn it back over to Representative Cook.
Now we'll be going over some background. You see our task force and logistics. the background. We created this about FYI 21 grant in the grant and aid legislation in section 38 of the Senate bill. And as I already stated, that we, as the Legislative Black Caucus, we wanted to dive deep into these issues and address these systemic issues, and that meaningful reform that is very needed. And this is going on nationwide. There's a charge study to make the findings and recommendations of legislator, governor, and law enforcement agencies, meaning we'll be getting all of our statistics and data and everybody participating with this charge due to making sure we have all the findings and making sure we look at the recommendations and send it to the legislature. Required to create 4 subcommittees, and we can create more if necessary. And those subcommittees are the use of force and imminent danger, workforce development, community policing and engagement, and we're looking at transparency and accountability. We will make these recommendations coming from the subcommittee and going to the membership and then to the 151 or the 151st General Assembly. Task force members.
The initial task force members are as follows. Representative Frank Cook is a co-chair. Speaker appointments, Chief R.L. Hughes from the Georgetown Police Department. Michelle Taylor with United Way. Bernice Edwards, First State Community Action. House Minority Leader appointment is Representative Ruth Briggs King. And the President Pro Tempore appointments, myself, Larry Johnson, Ron Handy representing NAACP, Sharice Burlington Carr, the Department of Labor, and Senate Minority Leader appointment is Senator Bryant Pettyjohn.
Task force members. The governor appointments, Lieutenant Thomas Bracken, Delaware State Troopers Association, Lieutenant Fred Calhoun, Fraternal Order of Police, Chief Patrick Ogden from the Delaware Police Chiefs Council, serving by virtue of position, James Ligari from the Criminal Justice Council, Spencer Price from Statistical Analyst, Kathleen Jennings, the Attorney General, Colonel Superintendent Melissa Zebley, Delaware State Police, and Brendan O'Neill, Public Defender's Office.
As previously described, there will be 4 subcommittees. Use of force and imminent danger, workforce development, community policing and engagement, and transparency and accountability.
The purpose is to access, when it comes to use of force and imminent danger, the purpose is to assess the feasibility and viability for the statutorily created use of force standard and implementation of an imminent danger policy to encourage officers to employ all tactics necessary to avoid using deadly force. And with that, we're looking at Carl Bond, has ran many of academies in Delaware State Police so that we can dig into or really get into how use of force is used and in danger, also weaponless defense, and looking at all policies and directives of all the police departments across the state. And also with that, we will have Kathleen Jennings also chairing.
Second subcommittee will be workforce development. The subcommittee will evaluate the various recruitment, hiring, and retention practices of our law enforcement agencies to augment the agency's efforts to reflect a diverse complement of officers. The subcommittee will also address officer education and consistent training, including de-escalation skills and resiliency components. Sharice Brewington Carr has graciously agreed to chair this subcommittee, and Pastor Frank Burton Jr. will serve as the vice chair.
Community policing and engagement. This is used to ensure community-oriented policing policies are consistent with the report of the 21st Century Policing, an expansion of the citizen-involved public safety outreach across the state, as well as increase of intervention services and ongoing proactive mental health care for police. Our vice chair is Sherry Toll, and our other vice chair will be Michelle Taylor.
The fourth subcommittee will be transparency and accountability. This committee will look to review and reform the disciplinary process for law enforcement officers to allow for greater accountability for misconduct, including potentially amending the Law Enforcement Bill of Rights and establishing civilian review boards to provide independent review of police misconduct cases. We will be naming a formal chair shortly, and Ray Armstrong has graciously agreed to serve as the vice chair of that committee.
Overview and reform efforts. Well, we're going to look at the timeline of legislative reforms from 2007 to 2020. As you can see in front of you, we had mental illness training becomes required for all officers. There are exactly 48 police departments across our state. In 2015, you see the victim-centered sexual assault training becomes required for all officers. Program for untested sexual assault kits is established and marijuana is decriminalized. In 2016, DPCC is charged with creating a model of the BWC policy. And then 2018, it becomes a Class G felony for an officer to have sexual contact with a person in custody. And then in 2019, we have human trafficking legislation is introduced, as well as the juvenile justice and criminal justice reform packages. Also, justice for all gender is unveiled. Now we just open it up for questions from the members. From task force. Excuse me. Task force members, can you raise your hand if you'd like to ask some questions?
Representative Cook, can you hear me?
Yes.
This is Sharice Brewington Carr. Good morning, and thank you for the opportunity to serve. I wanted to ask a question specifically about any time frames. I know this is an arduous task that we are embarking upon, but are there any particular deliverables and or expectations of the committee?
Yes, we'll be sending that out to all the subcommittee chairs, vice chairs, and also to the subcommittee members under each of the four subcommittees. Yes, we'll be sending it out early today, matter of fact.
Thank you so much. And the second question I have, I'm seeing some movement in the chat as well, is to community-based representatives or persons who are interested in serving, or as they are appointed to the committee. How will that process be conducted?
We have this. There you go. We will have this still open to those who want to join, and also, you know, there will be also public comment for them, and also they can send that into the task force website that we have available to everyone. And I want to be clear that we want everyone to participate. If you have a reform that you need us to look and recommend, we need you to send that in. And also, when it comes to public comment, we want to hear everyone's voices. We want everyone to come in. So there will be a timetable set by the sub chairs so they can put in a timeline of when and exactly we're having our meetings for that accountability.
Thank you.
Hello, Representative Cook.
Good morning.
How you doing? Ron Handy here. Question, are we going to be able to have some meetings, rotating meetings in different areas so that people can, from the communities, can have opportunity to voice their concerns?
Yes, I am working on that at the present time. I am trying to see if we can space out at different locations towards like Dover, so that my constituents or those members and also the citizens in the Kent and Sussex area can have feasibility to come closer, to get here closer instead of driving all to Wilmington. So I will be setting that up with the co-chairs or the vice chairs of each subcommittee. So that is a yes.
Thank you.
But I just want to be clear, most of our meetings will be done by Zoom. So, we'll make sure everybody participates, everybody gets on board. And let's, roll up our sleeves and let's get to work and fight and go through these sensitive issues.
Representative Cook,
Good morning.
good morning. I would like to just encourage us as we get started to not forget young people to be a part with their input as we get started.
Yes, Ms. Bernice, I really want the young to really come out and give their reforms that they, even as individuals, come out and let's hear their voices. This is the time I want to hear everyone up and down the state of Delaware. And I take this as being a platform where they can share their voices and share their concerns.
Representative Cook, Brendan O'Neill here. Has the committee completed the assignments for the subcommittee, and who's on which subcommittees?
We're just about there. There's more and more added on as we speak right now that people want to get in, and that we're looking over with the advocates that are out in the state of Delaware that are bringing me names or bringing our committee or to the Legislative Black Caucus names of who they want to have on or want to participate. But don't forget, even if we might not hit everyone, and that's, that happens, that they could come to the public comment and also email their reforms that they'd like to see done.
Understood. Do you have a timeline on when those assignments are going to be finalized? Approximately.
Within probably the end of the week, probably
Okay,
Monday.
great.
I probably have it fully done by Monday.
Thank you.
Like I said, I'm still getting things in and I'm trying to look over everything with my staff.
Thank you.
Representative Cook,
Morning.
good morning. It's RL Hughes. Sir, is there a method that task force members should use to suggest or ask to be placed on a committee? It just seems that these decisions are being made by some staff members. I'm just curious. There may be some expertise that some members of the task force have, because no one's reached out to me in that regard.
Yes, just send in your recommendations of who you think should be on there. And I've been putting a lot of people on there. I can't make it real huge, but I'm making sure everybody has a voice that can come in and do that. So I've been using the advocates and giving me names from advocacies out there to tell me who they want on the panel, who's going to do the work, because subcommittees work. This is not a dog and pony show. This is work. We're going to get down to the nitty gritty and get things done. And everybody should be, coming together and looking for change. And I need folks that really want to do work. I don't care who they are, red, pink, green, yellow, white, black, polka dot. I need folks coming that want to do work. That's it. This is not just this is very, very serious. And I take it very, very serious. It's sensitive to me as a police officer and knowing the things that's been going on. And we need to look at all these different issues that are out there, systemic, everything. We need to look at it. And that's what we're going to sit down and roll our sleeves up and get to work. So I just want to be clear about that.
Representative Cook, Mrs. Larry Johnson, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
To echo the previous respondent's inquiry, I'd also like to specifically volunteer for a particular subcommittee.
Yes, can you email us that you want to, that you want to be on, sir?
All right, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Representative Cook, this is Sherry Toll.
Yes.
How will the information that we gather and that we put together in our committees flow exactly through you? Do we meet first and then we all come back together? How does the information flow exactly to you?
Through our staff, we'll be gathering the information from the email and other ways of getting the reforms that the advocates and the citizens of Delaware want to participate in or give us information on, and we would gather all that up, and we would get the statistical and data that we need to look at what they're doing through our staff. We have a staff that gathers all that, and then through the police departments, police chiefs councils, different police departments, we're bringing the directives and policies in, and anything that my subcommittees ask for, especially the chair like yourself, we'll be going to get that information to make sure we have that. We need full participation in this. And I think by the numbers that I see today, we're going in the right direction, and we need to compromise, come together and get this done.
Thank you.
Representative Cook.
Mr. Andy.
Hey, how you doing?
How you doing, sir?
With this task force, are we going to be looking at or reaching out to neighboring states or any other states to see how they've formed a task force like this for best practices, or are we going to be the leaders in this area?
Right now, I look at us being the leaders in this area because a lot of legislators and legislations across the nation are off. And they come back, I guess, in 2021. So we are ahead, way ahead. We are setting the precedence of getting this done and working on something that we need to be done right now. And that's why we got this task force. And we're working with other states to see how, what they've been doing, reference to all these issues, systemic issues. And when it comes to, the use of force, looking at the Officers' Bill of Rights, they're very, very important that we look at and really dig down into and come up with, a compromise and things that we need to do to make this whole thing go forward and being used in the state of Delaware. And we need everyone here on this panel, including, DSTA, FOP, we need everyone. So we can be clear about what's going on and how all these policies and directives work. And I think this is a big thing about this. Is huge, and I'm so happy and I'm glad that everybody's here really want to participate and get the work done.
Representative Cook, it's Brian Pettyjohn. How are you today?
How are you, sir?
Good. As we're preparing for some of these breakout groups, wonder if we can have between the Attorney General's office and Spencer's group come up with some good data as we're preparing for these things, so that we're going into our first meetings with enough information so that we can really hit the ground running, and specifically, real statistics on use of force, real statistics on what we're seeing on racism and any type of police brutality, whether they're claims, whether it was substantiated or unsubstantiated. Want to make sure we have that good information right away, rather than waiting to the second or third or fourth meeting, so that we can really start to make an impact and engage what the problem is.
Yes, sir, Senator, that would be all done and getting formulated through the co-chairs. Okay, so that we will be up and running. When we say up and running on that first meeting, we're going to be up and running and battling the issues that we have there. I'm glad you mentioned that, but I want to be clear and sure that anyone can send in their reforms, their issues, other reforms or policies, directives from other states, from other police departments. We want to gather all that information because we're not in a hurry here. We're not in a hurry. This is nothing's going to be pretty. It's going to be just, we're going to fly through it. We're going to really get down and get to the core of what's going on. So we will be having a lot of information and getting a lot of information that I've been promised by the Department of Justice, by the FBI and other factors and other advocates, that we truly get true numbers and have transparency and integrity in these numbers. I'm not going to look at numbers just made up. I need some truth and fact to these numbers that we're going to be looking at.
Yep. Very good. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I have a question. This is Michelle Taylor. With some of the recommendations you mentioned, this is about action, this is about progress. If there's a financial component of this that comes with the recommendations, how confident are we that some note will follow it in order to really to be able to execute?
We passed the epilogue through the House and the Senate, and that deals with any financial things that we need to be done and getting our information, or getting those, even some speakers that we need to come in, or things that we need done to get to what we need to get to in each one of these subcommittees. We can take care of that, Ms. Taylor.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Representative Cook, this is Kathy Jennings.
Good morning.
Good morning, and thank you so much for chairing this task force, and thank you to Darrell Parsons for co-chairing. Senator Pettyjohn, I think you asked a really good question. What is the data that we're going to rely on? And it will be really important, I think, in our mission, which is to increase accountability and transparency in policing, and frankly, to help police departments throughout our state to be recognized for the great job that they do day in and day out, and to balance what we need to do with public safety and fairness in our justice system. And so we've spent in the Department of Justice the last months looking at best practices across the country, talking to policing experts, police chiefs, former police chiefs, and how their jurisdictions are addressing these issues and have addressed them in past years. And so I want to propose that we bring those to the task force generally, and that we bring them to the subcommittees as appropriate in terms of the subject that they're dealing with as soon as possible. And I would really encourage the task force to listen to experts all over the country who've done the hard work and who really understand policing, and who have frankly examined policing over the years and how we can improve the trust that we have to build with our communities in this state. And so we'll be making efforts to directly bring those individuals to the task force, to the various subcommittees to speak, as well as providing information on best practices. So thank you for your question.
Representative Cook? Representative Cook, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, great. Thank you. This is Sharice Brewington Cargan. Along the lines of, I think someone earlier asked about statistics and getting information prior to, could we potentially, as all committee members, get a idea or compilation, if you will, of all of the funding sources that are contributing to the policing departments throughout the state, federal and state?
Yes, we can probably, we will probably ask for that. That's the part that we'll be going through with the subcommittees and also with the membership to make sure that everybody participates and gives us all the efficient information that we need, including that, yes.
Thank you.
And I'm anticipating full participation from the departments, from all the departments up and down the state. I haven't got one negative response about anything right now. Everybody's on board. Just let's go to work. And I'm gonna make that clear. People, the police departments have been very, very aware and how this thing is, how this whole task force is going and where we're trying to get to with our mission.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now I want to open this up to public comment at this time.
For attendees that would like to give public comment, please use the raise hand function and I will be unmuting you in the order that those requests to make public comment have been received. You have 2 minutes to speak. You will be notified when your 2 minutes are up. Ken Abram, I'll be allowing you to speak now.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, my name is Ken Abraham. Some of you know me. Former Deputy Attorney General, General Practitioner, Defense Attorney, prisoner, drug addict, homeless person, business broker, entrepreneur. And today I had Citizens for Criminal Justice raising as much hell as legally possible about the legal system, criminal justice system, and helping individuals here and all over the country. In Delaware, as in some other states, Department of Corrections officers are law enforcement officers. I have seen with my own eyes the outrageous illegal conduct of way too many, we're not talking about a few bad apples, Delaware DOC officials. And I want to suggest to you or recommend that you add another subcommittee to investigate wrongdoing by DOC staff. And I'll caution you, just as bad as their activity is the incredible culture of cover-up. And we're not talking a few bad apples, again, everywhere from captain, lieutenant, on down the line. They will lie to you. They will lie to investigators. They will lie to anybody to cover up their criminal wrongdoing. I get letters, calls, and emails from inmate families every day. And I have a couple of COs who will talk to me strictly off the record. They might talk to you off the record because they know, as surely as I sit here, that if they're identified, criminal repercussions will follow from other DOC staff members. With that, I want to congratulate all of you. You've identified some really good, important issues. I want to congratulate Superintendent Zebley on her recent appointment. Encourage all of you to keep up the good work. And I want to echo one thing Kathleen Jennings said in a recent article, which I've said for many, many times. One of the most dramatic, one of the most profound, deeply damaging and incredibly harmful consequences of authorities' failure to hold law enforcement officers and others in authority accountable for their wrongdoing is the erosion. It's not dramatic. It's a silent, sinister consequence.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. And your time is up. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Erosion of public trust.
Coby Owens, you've been permitted to speak.
Can you hear me? All right. Good afternoon or good morning, everyone. First off, congratulations to everyone who was appointed to this task force. I have worked with many of you in the past, and I look forward to working with you and engaging with you as we move forward in this process. But saying that, I also would like to say I am extremely disappointed that this task force lacks the people who have been on the ground recently leading the movement, which are young organizers from across the state. I actually made a recommendation of 26 organizers, not including myself, who would have been a good fit for this committee. I think one of the things that was said by the co-chair, Representative Cook, is you want everyone's input, you want everyone to be involved of this. I think you should take it to the next step and actually give them the power to be on this task force, not on a subcommittee, but on the task force and have a say. On top of that, I am excited to see that you are working on 4 subcommittees and setting the precedent. I just want to talk about that real quick. The Delaware Legislative Black Caucus had the opportunity to set the precedent here in Delaware, yet they fumbled the ball. The city of Minneapolis banded chokeholds flat out, while the Delaware Legislative Black Caucus and then followed by Newcastle County Council, they both put provisions in there that allows an officer, if he deems it necessary, to use chokeholds. I've been in meetings with R.L. Hughes, Chief Tracy, and Chief Bond, where they've all said that they do not teach this chokehold move, so therefore it should have been banned flat out. If we want to hold people accountable and have true transparency, we have to be willing to actually do the real legislation. I hope that this task force is not just for show. I hope that you actually do listen to the community activists who have been on the ground leading this. And just to say, I led the largest Black Lives Matter rally here in the state of Delaware, calling for true police brutality to end here in Delaware and true police accountability. And while me and Congresswoman Lisa Blunt Rochester talked about equality and justice for our community, there were sniper rifles on us. So, that's kind of where the
Thank you,
line was
Coby.
set.
Your time is up. Thank you so much. Thank you.
I just want to thank Coby Owens, this is Kathy Jennings, for your comments. They're very meaningful because there are a number of young leaders in our communities throughout Delaware whose voices need to be heard. Thank you, Coby.
Javonne Rich, you have been permitted to speak. You have 2 minutes.
Good morning. To the members of the Law Enforcement Accountability Task Force, my name is Javonne Rich, and I'm the policy advocate of the American Civil Liberties Union of Delaware. As the nation's oldest defender of civil liberties, the ACLU has fought for constitutional policing that ensures people's rights are protected and maintains public safety throughout our 100-year history. The high-profile killings of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and the protests that ensued have highlighted long-standing policing issues in our state. There has been renewed scrutiny of law enforcement officers and agencies, and rightfully so. Police institutions have substantial power to deprive people of their liberties and their life. The task force should prioritize policies that foster fairness and transparency, such as collecting and making police data public, reevaluating use of force and pursuit policies, and establishing independent review boards. Many of the aforementioned changes are not possible without significant revisions to law enforcement officers' Bill of Rights to make police disciplinary records and use of force records public. Law enforcement agencies also can gain trust with community members by discontinuing invasive and aggressive policing tactics that primarily impact communities of color, like Operation Safe Streets, the Governor's Task Force, and civil asset forfeiture. Police officers must be fair, transparent, and accountable. Otherwise, communities will not view police officers as a legitimate authority, making it less likely they will assist police agencies in solving violent crimes, which makes us all less safe. Without transparency, the public may remain suspicious that officers are not held accountable for their actions. Similarly, a transparent process can also help to demonstrate when officers acted appropriately. The ACLU welcomes partnership with the task force to address other recommendations that would better serve residents and restore faith in law enforcement. Thank you for your time and consideration of these issues. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Rich. Thank you so much.
Jonathan Kirch, you've been permitted to speak. You have 2 minutes.
Hi, good morning. I'm raising a question, although that's, I admit, unusual in this forum, but during the registration process, questions were sought, and I don't expect a reply today, but I'd like to raise the issue and the question. The question is, does this group's scope and purview extend into analyzing and even making recommendations about the size of the budget in the law enforcement and criminal justice and corrections system, and relating that to the size of budgeting and other resources available to social interventions, the social determinants of health, social inequities, and other ways that our state and our communities can help people improve their circumstances and make the kind of despair that exacerbates crime less severe and less acute. So that's just a question I'd want to bring before the group, and thank you for your openness in bringing our voices to the table.
Thank you, Mr. Kirch.
Dustyn Thompson, you've been permitted to speak. You have 2 minutes.
I appreciate that. My name is Dustyn Thompson with Delaware United. I just want to kind of do what I can to lift up the sentiments of a couple people that came before me, Yvonne and Coby Owens, particularly with Coby and youth representation and activist representation on the actual task force. I know that's kind of seemingly set in stone at this point, but it was a little disappointing to see that the body that actually will make the final call doesn't really have those voices on it, and that subcommittees that can make recommendations may have those voices on it. We'll see how that turns out. But I would also just like to make the recommendation and hope that you consider it, Representative Cook, as the chair, to not just alternate when we get to the point of in-person meetings, your locations, but during virtual meetings that you consider choosing different times of the day and afternoon and evenings as well, rather than having all the meetings at 10 a.m. when there's a large group of people that are not able to attend and provide public comment or watch the discussions live. Having them at different times of day will ensure that different groups will be able to attend and increase that amount of transparency and accountability of the task force for which this is formed to help rectify those issues for. The other question was, I don't understand in terms of getting data. I don't know if there's non-public data that can be used to kind of quantify the issues we have here in Delaware. I think that's part of the issue we're trying to solve here, is that there really isn't a lot of data on excessive use of force and what officers are doing, what bad behaviors. It's my understanding that that's one of the major issues we're struggling with here today. So it'd be interesting to see how that comes about, and hopefully an absence of data doesn't lead to an absence of action. That's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dustyn.
Lynne Kielhorn, you've been permitted to speak. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you and good morning. I'll be brief. Like Coby and Dustyn, I'm concerned about representation on the task force. I believe it should include impacted, meaning justice involved people. This would increase the credibility of the task force enormously. So my question is, how many seats on each of the subcommittees will be reserved for impacted people? And is there still an opportunity to include them on the task force itself? Thank you.
Yes, Ms. Kielhorn, yes, it is still open, and we're still putting people on different subcommittees as we speak right now.
Peter Murray, you've been permitted to speak. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you. I appreciate the task force being open to public comments. I sent this in also as an email, but one of the things I'd like the task force to consider is looking at breaking out public safety duties and staffing full-time mental health first response units versus putting that burden on the police, and looking at that not only as a recommendation, but also as funding for that statewide. The same thing could be applied somewhat to addiction as well, but my focus is mainly on those resources for mental health. And again, thank you for listening.
Thank you, sir. Are there any more public comments? Could you raise your hand right now so we can make sure your voice is heard?
Jillian Coelho, you've been permitted to speak. You have 2 minutes.
Hi, yes, this is Jillian Coelho. I'm an intern in the Office of Attorney General Kathy Jennings and currently a senior at University of Delaware. This is going to follow more along the lines of a recommendation instead of a question, but going back on the transparency and accountability subcommittee in part of establishing the Civilian Review Board, I would just like to recommend studying the precedent set by the Office of Police Complaints in Washington, D.C. They've had a really great and successful committee on that part. Specifically, something interesting that they really did recently during the George Floyd protests was they had people that were part of that Civilian Review Board attend the protests with vests on that clearly marked that they were a part of the Office of Police Complaints and that they were ready to receive any of these complaints in real time. I think that the current and active participation in those community protests really showed a lot of trust and built a lot of that trust within the Office of Police Complaints. And I would just really recommend that that level of community involvement be extended to whatever Civilian Review Board that the Transparency and Accountability Task Force decides on making. That's just my recommendation.
Thank you so much, Jillian. Thank you so much. There's no additional public comment. Don't forget that you can still send in your responses or your questions or any concerns to our LEO task force at delaware.gov. Please make sure that you send it to us so everyone's voice. I'm really stressing this through communication, and we got to communicate with one another. Please send all your reforms or comments into that email. And at least by Monday, these subcommittees and who is on each one of the subcommittees, the 4 subcommittees, will be put out and sent to each and every person by the latest as Monday. And it also will be put up on the website. I'm just trying to think of everything, and it's a lot here. I'm trying to do my best. So with that, I want to thank everyone. I really appreciate it. I hope we get things done. I'm not going to hope. I know we're going to get things done. I'm thinking positive that we're going to get down and we're going to get to work and we're going to show the United States that what is Delaware doing. And I think we can achieve that. And I'm not going to think it. I know we can achieve that. And, by the numbers that we have and the participation all around the community, police departments, the government, myself, my co-chairs, my members, I need you all. I need you all. And we're going to be fighting. And we're going to be going through some hard times, but we're going to get it done. I'm thinking positive. I'm not going through this negative. And some negative stuff is going to come. I understand that, but we're going to fight through it. And I just want to thank everyone who's on this morning, and I appreciate it. Please don't hold back. Don't get on the social media and stuff, and let us know what you want to think about. Contact us. Contact me. Like I said, I want everything heard. If you got something you want to say or something you want to do, reforms from other states, when it comes to review boards, looking at Bill of Rights, looking at different things in policing today that are not good and those that are good. And I believe we have some great police officers out there and doing the right thing and protecting and serving our communities. But we got to get rid of the bad apples, and we got to be held accountable, and also transparency. And that's what I'm looking at. So I just want to be clear about that. No hidden anything. I'm gonna see if my co-chair has a few words.
Yeah, I think this is a positive start. Give you a thank you in anticipation of your contributions, of your time and your talents, and look forward to making this a positive experience for all the citizens of the state of Delaware.